It's hard to believe, but it's completely true. Meghan Markle's unexpected absence from a series of recent major royal events has taken both the media and the public by surprise. Just when it seemed she was gradually stepping back into the spotlight, a small detail in one of her past public statements was revealed to be inaccurate, and everything began to shift. One of the most talked about moments was the memorial for Queen Elizabeth II on June 4, 2025, held at St. George's Chapel. Meghan was completely absent, even though just a week earlier she had been in London for a key meeting about a major media project. So what really happened? Was it simply a personal choice, or the consequence of a sensitive behind-the-scenes revelation? Don't forget to leave a comment with the number 1 if you sympathize with Meghan Markle, or 0 if you have a different opinion. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, where we'll be uncovering every hidden detail behind this story. Things began to change gradually, not through official press releases, but through small yet noticeable changes. These changes didn't require official confirmation, but they served as the clearest and most tangible evidence of a shift in Meghan's relationship with the royal family. Initially, Meghan stopped appearing at major royal events, as she once did. While there was no official explanation for her absence, it created a noticeable void in the royal family's public activities, especially in events where she had always been present before. Furthermore, her name no longer appeared in official royal communications, indicating a clear and deliberate detachment. Although there was no public statement made, this absence became a clear sign of the shifting dynamics between Meghan and the monarchy, more apparent than ever before. At the Queen Elizabeth II memorial event, Meghan Markle's name initially appeared on the VIP guest list. However, shortly after her name was crossed out and replaced with the notation TUR, unconfirmed guest. This move, confirmed through the royal family's official digital platforms, is a significant sign. Although no public announcement was made, it is clear that Meghan was excluded from this important event, and it seems to indicate that she has been systematically excluded from all internal royal activities. This only further underscores the growing detachment between her and the royal family. In June 2025, all information about Meghan Markle in the royal family's public records was notably reduced. Previously, her name was not only included in major charity events, but was also a crucial part of royal-backed initiatives. Meghan had been one of the prominent figures in public campaigns, especially in charitable activities with many influential organizations. However, this significant change has clearly marked a separation between her and the royal family. Now, only her old titles, her wedding date to Prince Harry, and the names of their children remain without any reference to the charity work she had been involved in. The links to organizations and initiatives she had supported are completely removed. This is not just the removal of her name from events, but also the elimination of any references to her speeches and involvement with the Royal Foundation, an organization she co-founded. Even the section about the Sussex Fund was moved to the bottom of the page and is no longer listed among the organizations supported by the royal family. Even the section about the Sussex Fund was moved to the bottom of the page and is no longer part of the list of organizations supported by the royal family. A major and impactful change occurred in June 2025 concerning Archwell, the non-profit organization founded by Meghan and Harry. For over 3 years, Archwell had maintained an honorary partnership with the royal family, which allowed the organization to use the royal emblem in its international media activities. This partnership helped Archwell effectively connect with global charitable initiatives, gaining public attention and support. However, on June 3, 2025, an official notice from Clarence House instructed Archwell to cease using any symbols related to the Crown or the Duke, Duchess of Sussex titles. This move is a significant one, reflecting a shift in how the royal family is managing and controlling relationships with external organizations, particularly when those organizations are directly linked to royal family members. This was not a mere symbolic gesture, but one that carried substantial legal consequences, particularly in terms of international sponsorship relationships, where issues of ownership and royal affiliation could directly impact decisions regarding funding and collaboration. This shift not only holds symbolic value, but also highlights a change in how the royal family is managing relationships with external organizations, especially those involving royal members. On June 17, 2025, a special emergency meeting was convened at the Sandringham estate. This event was widely regarded as a discreet summit aimed at addressing the escalating media threats to the monarchy. It wasn't a regular meeting, but rather an urgent strategic session to safeguard the royal family's reputation and stability against public scrutiny. Notably, Meghan and Harry were not invited, further highlighting the meeting's true purpose, not negotiation, but damage control. Their absence reflected a clear division within the royal family and indicated that all subsequent actions would focus on mitigating the harm caused by the interview. The central focus of the discussion was the infamous interview between Meghan, Harry, and Oprah Winfrey, during which Meghan shocked the public by alleging that a member of the royal family had made comments about her son Archie's skin color. However, despite the widespread attention garnered by this accusation, a report from the Royal Communications Safety Unit indicated that there was no evidence to substantiate the existence of this remark in official meetings. This further complicated the situation, as public debate continued regarding the authenticity of the claims and their impact on the monarchy. The question of the authenticity of the allegations became even more complicated when a former palace aide who had worked closely with Meghan during her early days in Windsor appeared on an independent podcast and shared revealing information. The former staff member disclosed that no racially discriminatory conversations had taken place during the meetings preparing for the birth of Meghan's first child. According to him, if such a conversation had occurred, it certainly would not have happened in front of any internal staff members. His testimony adds complexity to the matter, as it contradicts the details presented in Meghan's interview with Oprah Winfrey, raising further doubts about the veracity of the accusations. When directly asked in a podcast interview, "Do you believe Meghan exaggerated or fabricated that claim?" her assistant paused before responding, "I'm not saying she made it up, but I don't believe the story reflects the reality that people think it does." This response quickly sparked a wave of discussions across British politics and media, opening up a debate about the authenticity of Meghan's previous claims. It further fueled public speculation and ongoing controversy surrounding Meghan's interview with Oprah Winfrey, prompting continued debates about the accuracy and impact of the accusations within the royal context. Following the widespread circulation of this statement, the Times officially requested a fact-check from the royal press office. However, they received a response that disagreed with the claim. A spokesperson for Prince William refused to verify any statements made during the 2021 interview, which stood in sharp contrast to the royal family's previous silence on the matter. Media experts argued that the royal family's response wasn't about the accusations themselves, but rather about the implication that an offensive statement had occurred within the senior royal family's official context and had been formally approved. A misunderstanding arising from an ambiguous story was enough to significantly damage the integrity of the royal institution. A leaked document from Sandringham revealed an urgent memo from the Internal Communications Department, which instructed that any involvement from Meghan be put on hold until the external story stabilized. This demonstrated the royal family's caution in handling sensitive media issues, with every move being carefully scrutinized. This action did not require a public statement or the revocation of titles, but rather a systematic separation from official royal activities. The goal was to maintain stability and prevent outside stories from harming the image of the royal family. Media experts have referred to this as a ceremonial loss of credibility, where the public loses trust in the institution they once admired and represented. Meghan, who was once at the center of royal activities, was now excluded from long-term plans of the royal family. The increasing silence and separation became more apparent, creating an unbridgeable distance between her and the remaining family members. Although no public statement was made, this action clearly reflected a strategic decision aimed at protecting the institution and minimizing the negative impact of external stories. Prince William, now considered the most powerful heir to the throne, no longer participates in events alongside Meghan. Royal reporters quickly noticed this shift in William's public schedule, as his engagements no longer overlap with those involving Meghan. For instance, on June 5th, William appeared alone at a charity event at Oxford University, while Harry attended a separate military council on the same day. The clear separation between William's and Meghan's events didn't need further explanation, as both the public and the media understood the division. There was no official statement yet. It was evident that this was a deliberate move by the royal family. After the 2021 scandal, Prince William set firmer boundaries in his relationship with other members of the royal family, particularly with Meghan and Harry. This shift wasn't just a personal decision by William, but also reflected the royal family's policy. The boundaries William has drawn have now become an integral part of the royal family's strategy in handling media issues, as they seek to maintain a stable image and avoid any negative impacts. These decisions, though not officially declared, have made it clear that the separation between royal family members is a policy designed to protect the institution and their reputation. King Charles III, while still maintaining personal contact with his youngest son, has completely cut off administrative ties with Meghan. This became clear through letters from Clarence House to the Archwell Foundation, which no longer used the titles Duke and Duchess of Sussex as they had previously. Instead, these letters are now simply addressed to Harry Mountbatten Windsor. A small but deeply significant change. This move clearly reflects a new strategy by the royal family in managing and delineating administrative relationships, and it asserts that Meghan is no longer considered an official figure within the scope of royal activities. This shift isn't just a change in how letters are addressed. It's also a strong indication that Meghan is no longer recognized in the royal family's administrative functions. While it might not be immediately obvious, this decision sends a clear signal that the royal family wants to maintain distance from Meghan, especially after public controversies and disagreements. It marks a significant turning point in how the royal family is treating Meghan, solidifying the separation between her and official royal activities. From 2020 to 2023, Meghan Markle frequently appeared alongside Harry in strategic meetings with the King's office, despite not holding an official role within the royal family. During this period, Meghan was involved in many important discussions, and her presence helped solidify the couple's image in royal plans. However, her participation was not an official role, but simply part of the strategic meetings that Harry attended to push forward important initiatives and decisions for the future of the royal institution. This represented a form of integration of Meghan into royal activities, even though she did not hold an official title within the royal family structure. However, since May 2025, Meghan has been completely absent from these strategic meetings. A media assistant from Clarence House confirmed that her absence was not an oversight or mistake, but rather a deliberate directive from the royal family. This decision was not unexpected, but was a carefully calculated move aimed at changing the way the royal family interacts with members who no longer fulfill their official duties. In recent strategic meetings, Meghan's name was no longer mentioned, and this absence became even more apparent when the drafts for the 2025 royal transition strategy did not include her. Notably, Meghan's name did not appear in any drafts of the 2025 Royal Transition Strategy, which only listed key representatives such as William, Kate, Princess Anne, and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. While Harry's name was still included, it was with limited capacity, but Meghan was entirely absent. A former media advisor from the King's press office stated that her omission from the strategic plan was the final word. According to him, the royal family did not need to issue a public denial. They simply wrote the plan without her involvement. This calculated move was made to protect the integrity of the institution and the nation's reputation, not as a personal vendetta, but as a strategic response to international reputation threats to the royal family. The accusation that Meghan misrepresented a conversation about race was not just a media story, but a serious threat to the royal family's reputation. These allegations sparked public outrage and led people to question the integrity of the royal family members, particularly Meghan and Harry. This is why the royal family did not respond with anger or public criticism, but chose to react in a subtle and calculated manner. They decided not to make any official statements on the issue, instead allowing subtle changes in their actions to convey the message. This move showed that the royal family opted not to directly confront the accusation, but instead let small adjustments in their behavior and practices speak for themselves. Changes to the royal family's official website and the reversal of royal titles in correspondence were made without any public announcement. This was a strategic, subtle, and decisive approach to clarify Meghan's position within the royal family without issuing public statements or engaging in the controversy. Instead, the message was unmistakable. Meghan was no longer part of the royal picture. These changes created a clear distinction between the remaining family members and Meghan, helping to protect the integrity of the royal institution and ending her involvement in official royal activities. As signs of her retreat from royal activities became clearer in June 2025, Meghan attended two political fundraising events in California, one in Santa Barbara and the other in West Hollywood. Both times she appeared alone without Harry, marking a shift from their previous image as a power couple. A former media advisor at Archwell revealed that Meghan is now rebuilding her personal media team completely separate from the rest of the organization. She has started working with a political branding firm based in the US, signaling her focus is shifting to platforms no longer dependent on royal relationships. One of the most notable changes in Meghan's career has been the postponement of her memoir, Meghan the Memoir, which was originally set to be released at the end of 2025. This decision came after Penguin Publishing's legal team requested Meghan to provide verification for several claims related to the royal family, which she was unable to fully comply with. One of the most controversial parts was the description of a conversation between Meghan and a senior royal family member regarding her mental health after childbirth. However, what complicated this story was that no medical staff or media assistants were present during this conversation, raising legal concerns about potential defamation and the lack of evidence to support these claims. These legal concerns led to the memoir being put on hold, and Meghan's royal title was stripped. With the memoir on hold, Meghan now appears to be shifting her focus toward political and social spaces to rebuild her brand. Instead of relying on official royal campaigns, Meghan has started engaging in civil activism and advocating for community issues, thereby re-establishing her personal image. This represents a significant shift, showing that she not only wants to move away from the controversies and pressures of the royal family, but also seeks recognition in other areas where she can have an impact and build a completely new brand. Do you think Meghan is truly repositioning herself in the political and social space, or is this just a temporary strategy amid the chaos? Leave a comment below to share your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss what's coming next in Meghan's bold journey to rebuild her personal brand. Meghan Markle no longer controls her own narrative as she once did. In the past, she enjoyed widespread support from the American media, particularly from journalists and the public who admired her as a 21st-century feminist icon. Meghan was praised for her courage in breaking traditional barriers within the royal family and for actively advocating women's rights, becoming an inspiring figure for many. However, recently, that support has started to fracture. Journalists who once enthusiastically backed her are now beginning to question the accuracy of some of her previous statements, sparking waves of skepticism among the public. This shift not only reflects the complexities of managing a personal image in today's media landscape, but also highlights the challenges Meghan faces as her story undergoes intense scrutiny and analysis. Voices that once lauded her for breaking barriers and championing women's rights are now doubting the accounts she shared about her life and experiences within the royal family. This marks a significant turning point in how Meghan is recognized by the media and raises debates about the truthfulness and impact of her public image. The growing division in public opinion has diminished the consensus Meghan once had, posing questions about the long-term effects of the narratives and images she has constructed. From being a widely admired and celebrated icon, Meghan now faces challenges regarding her credibility and the trust of the public, creating a complex and uncertain picture of her role in contemporary society and the media. This loss of control over her own story is not just evident in the media, but also in her public engagement. Archwell's Instagram account, which once boasted a massive following, lost more than 180,000 followers within just 3 weeks. Additionally, the engagement rate on her recent posts has dropped dramatically, signaling a significant shift in how the public views her. These numbers suggest that the once widespread support for Meghan is beginning to wane, and her carefully crafted media presence may not be resonating with audiences the way it used to. The decline in social media engagement is a tangible indicator that Meghan's influence is facing serious challenges. On platforms like Twitter, even some of Meghan's former defenders have begun to ask difficult questions. Many are wondering whether they are supporting a cause that aligns with their values or simply backing an individual for the sake of personal defense. This shift in sentiment reflects the growing complexity of Meghan's public image as people begin to reconsider their support. While she once seemed to have a clear and united backing, the questions surrounding her authenticity and the direction of her message are now more prominent, leaving her media strategy at a crossroads. Meghan has chosen silence, appearing cautiously at events that promote messages about women's rights, education, and mental health, while deliberately distancing herself from anything related to the royal family. Instead of engaging in direct confrontation or debates, she prefers to build her image as a responsible social activist, focusing on positive values and spreading messages for the community. However, this separation unintentionally highlights a reality Meghan has never openly admitted: she no longer holds the symbolic power she once did. Her choice to remain silent and avoid royal-related issues rather than confronting or rebutting them has caused the moral authority she once wielded to start fading. Meghan once used her moral power as a weapon in the fight against an old and rigid institution, creating a significant public impact. But when the royal family responded with silence instead of reactions or disputes, her story gradually lost its appeal and persuasiveness in the public eye. A communications expert explained this phenomenon clearly. When you tell a shocking story but your target remains silent and you keep repeating it, the audience will get tired. The royal family's silence has led the public to gradually lose interest in Meghan's narrative, which in turn means the symbolic power she once had is slowly diminishing. Meghan is no longer seen as the courageous victim who once overcame harsh challenges, yet she has not firmly established herself as an independent and respected activist either. Currently, she is caught in between these two identities, stuck in a precarious transitional phase that, without a sudden turning point, could drag on meaninglessly. This is a difficult state for anyone, especially for someone who once stood at the center of the global stage, where every action and decision is closely scrutinized. This condition not only makes it harder for Meghan to build her personal image, but also can create a sense of silent rejection or being forgotten that is far more subtle than public disapproval. Losing a clear self-definition in the media and in the public's mind can deeply affect her ability to maintain social influence and progress in her endeavors. It is indeed a significant challenge that requires sharp awareness and careful strategy if Meghan hopes to reinvent and strengthen her position in the future. At the same time as Meghan's absence, Prince Harry is facing a complex crisis in his post-royal life. Following the important meeting at Sandringham on June 17th and the memorial service for Queen Elizabeth II on June 4th, Harry decided to stay in the United Kingdom for an additional week instead of immediately returning to the United States as originally planned. During this period, he attended several smaller events related to veteran affairs, a cause he remains deeply committed to since his military service. His involvement in these events reflects his desire to maintain a connection with the values and responsibilities he holds dear. However, what drew the most public attention was Meghan's complete absence despite expectations that the couple would attend a Veterans Recognition Gala together in London. Meghan's no-show sparked much speculation and raised questions about the current state of their relationship. A close friend of Harry's from the military remarked Harry arrived early, stayed late, but it's clear he's not himself. This comment partly reveals the unsettled mood and pressures Harry is facing during this difficult transitional period. Although there is no evidence that Prince Harry endorses or supports Meghan's controversial statements, his stance has caused every move he makes to be scrutinized intensely. It seems Harry has reverted to his old strategy of silence and withdrawal, but this silence carries a different tone. Sources from Clarence House confirm that Harry is still invited to online meetings with royal representatives, but only as an observer and advisor. He no longer participates actively in strategic sessions regarding succession planning or public messaging, indicating that his role and influence within the royal family have significantly diminished. A close aide to King Charles once remarked, "The king has not turned his back on his son, but he knows he cannot keep both." And Harry understands that. This statement partly reflects the complex and difficult reality of Harry's relationship with the royal family. In the draft of the 2025 Royal Transition Strategy, Harry's name still appears but only minimally, mostly within a minor section related to non-core charitable activities. Meanwhile, Meghan is completely absent from any part of the document highlighting the deepening separation between her and the royal family. Harry is currently in a very difficult and complex position. If he publicly supports Meghan, it could mean permanently severing ties with the royal family, a consequence no one desires. However, if he maintains distance and does not speak out in defense of Meghan, he will face heavy criticism for failing to protect his family, making his public image fragile and vulnerable. A communications expert in London explained, "The only way out is silence. But the price to pay is that his public identity gradually fades. This silence, while helping him avoid public disputes, also causes him to lose influence and standing in the media landscape." Some of Harry's close friends in the UK have revealed that his decision to stay longer after the Queen's memorial was not only to attend events, but also to participate in a series of private meetings with two former royal communications advisors. These meetings are seen as signals that Harry is reassessing his role in the current context and may be considering a future path independent of Meghan. This could be the beginning of his journey towards self-autonomy and repositioning himself on the international stage. At present, Meghan is completely absent from major royal events and appears to have been systematically and quietly removed from the royal family's sphere of influence. Her absence from key ceremonies such as memorial services, family gatherings, and important national events, combined with the quiet removal of her name and image from official royal websites, are unmistakable signals of this shift. Additionally, Meghan has lost her roles in several charitable organizations previously aligned with senior members of the royal family positions that once served as symbolic extensions of her duties as the Duchess of Sussex. These developments collectively suggest a deliberate distancing process, indicating that Meghan's connection to the royal family has been significantly diminished in both form and substance. According to a source close to the royal household, Meghan's prolonged absence from recent events is not simply a personal choice, but stems from a serious behind-the-scenes revelation. Specifically, she is said to have made a statement that was not entirely accurate either during a media appearance or in an interview, which caused a breach of trust within the royal family. As a result, she has been excluded from all internal royal activities and no longer holds any official or representative role at royal events. While no public announcement or direct action has been made by the palace, this quiet but firm approach reflects the royal family's determination to protect its image and internal order. Meghan was once seen as the symbol of a new era in the British royal family, a modern woman unafraid to challenge outdated norms and raise questions about power race and the role of women within a centuries-old institution. At her peak, she was praised for her courage and candor, representing a wave of change many hoped would shake the very foundation of the monarchy. However, when those questions stopped being accompanied by transparency or verifiable facts, the institution responded in its time-honored way, quietly, firmly, and without concession. There was no public condemnation, no dramatic fallout, only a steady, silent push into the margins, not through judgment, but through deliberate disengagement. Now the question is this the end of Meghan's chapter as a royal figure, or is she quietly preparing for a new political game, one in which she can redefine her influence beyond the palace walls? Either way, the cost is significant. Her withdrawal from power hasn't come by way of public backlash or media outrage, but through a quiet erosion of attention, relevance, and influence in the public sphere. This may be the highest price she has paid in her years-long struggle to control her narrative and image, a battle with no clear victor, but with undeniable consequences for Meghan herself. In many ways, this may be the most expensive price she's paid in her years-long battle to shape her own story and public image, a battle with no clear winner, but in which the personal cost to Meghan is increasingly undeniable. So what do you think really happened behind the palace doors? Was it a strategic retreat, a silent exclusion, or the beginning of something bigger from Meghan? Whose side are you on, Team Meghan or Team Royal? Don't forget to leave a comment with the number 1 if you sympathize with Meghan Markle, or 0 if you see it differently. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to support our channel. And don't forget to click on the next video that's popping up on your screen for more fascinating insights. We'll see you in the next one.